Coming up next, Patriots quarterback Tom Brady officially appeals his Deflategate suspension. Now may have a chance of having the entire punishment revoked. We'll take that up and more with leading attorneys Mercedes Colwyn and Wendy Patrick next. The National Football League Players Association filing an appeal today on behalf of Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. The Players Union calling for an independent arbitrator to hear arguments challenging the Super Bowl MVP suspension and fine for the so-called Deflategate scandal. Goodell has the power to hear the appeal himself, causing Brady's lawyer and the union to question the fairness of the process. Well, joining us now, two of the best attorneys in the business, Mercedes Colwyn, a Fox News legal analyst, and attorney Wendy Patrick, joining us from gorgeous San Diego. Thank you both for being here. Let me begin with you, Mercedes. Could Goodell be hearing the appeal on this? Because to me, that does seem a bit of conflict of interest. Could the Brady or the union say, look, we want this case heard by someone independent? And it sounds very logical for him to say that. One, because it was Goodell who actually imposed the penalty. So what are we having? We have the judge and the jury and the executioner all trying this case? No, we'd rather have someone who's independent look at this and then determine, was Goodell arbitrary and capricious when he said, I'm going to impose this 4-game sentence? Wendy, let me talk to you about this. The language that was used in the Wells report that looked into this whole Deflategate scandal says he was probably aware. That the language was so vague, and the punishment was pretty severe. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning the fact that, as you say, not only did he have to be generally aware, but listen to the standard, more probable than not that he was generally aware of some incidents of wrongdoing. That is so vague. But here's the problem. There are two reasons that the punishment was levied. The first is this probability he's generally aware of the deflated footballs. But the second one was not something he did, but something he failed to do. Cooperate. Yeah. So if you think about it, even if it were assigned to an independent arbitrator to decide this case, they could say, that report was inconclusive, but it's still uncontested that he failed to cooperate. So maybe the punishment would be reduced, but there's still going to be some kind of consequence, most likely.
Brady didn't turn over his texts or his emails at all, did he? Which doesn't speak well, does it? What do you think?
Isn't that a little culpable? I mean, certainly if you have nothing to hide, here's my text messages, here's my phone, let's go through it.
He said he didn't want to set a bad precedent for other players in the future that may be under investigation.
But it's interesting because you look at the text messages that were in the public's eye. It talks about Brady all over the place. Yeah. Oh, tell Brady, give me some tickets, give me a football, give me this, give me that, give me sneakers.
Does the punishment get overturned in any way, do you think?
It would probably get reduced.
Reduced. So 4 games to 2 games, maybe?
That's probably much more reasonable.
Would you agree, Wendy?
That probably will either be reduced or stay the same. But here's the interesting thing. It cannot be increased. That distinguishes this from many other professions where people are afraid to appeal punishment because it could only get worse. That is not true here. So he's got nothing to lose. And by the way, the lawyer he hired is no bench warmer. This is a lawyer who's been successful against the NFL in other cases. So he's got nothing to lose.
Let's turn quickly to the Amtrak case here, the derailment. What kind of liability is Amtrak facing here?
Significant, because first of all, they're going to say, well, it was your driver. It's your driver has full control of the train. What training did you provide? What is it? Where are the safety controls? There were supposed to be safety controls at the end of this month, but obviously they haven't put any safety controls. What have you done to prevent this type of accident? We've already had several of these accidents. We had one back in 2007 where they had other fatalities in the other Amtrak train. So if you haven't learned your lessons there, what lessons have you actually done to prevent this catastrophe? Obviously, there hasn't been any.
Wendy, because Amtrak is government funded, does that put a cap on any of the damages?
Well, the cap is at $200 million, and that is per crash. And that, isn't going to be enough, some people are arguing, because remember, some of the medical expenses, you're looking at ongoing care. But what's also interesting about this case is we know that there was at least one Amtrak employee who was on the train but not working. So now we're looking at, can we prove negligence? In other words, was this a DUI? Was it the dreaded DWT, driving while texting? We don't think so, because remember that the engineer turned over both his cell phone and a blood sample, but still going 106 in a 50-mile-hour speed zone. I think negligence is going to be presumed, and we're going to be looking at settlements from this point on.
Mercedes, he could be charged with what, negligent homicide?
Negligent homicide, because certainly if you're going to be driving the train at that speed, double the speed that it's allowable, and you have these fatalities, it sure sounds of negligence.
Oh boy, well thank you so much, Mercedes Colwyn and Wendy Patrick. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Time now for a